Southern Keto Hash Brown Casserole made with cauliflower rice. I love this cookbook, the Southern KeTo Cookbook. If you haven't bought it, you should buy it. It's got a lot of awesome recipes in here for ketogenic diet. First, to gather all of our supplies, going to have heavy whipping cream. I doubled this recipe: garlic, black pepper, onions, cauliflower, fresh or frozen, pork rinds, cheddar cheese, and Parmesan. First, let's prep everything. Start by grating your Parmesan. I had little helpers, so it gets kind of messy. But, it's good to have them to learn how to cook. It's the first time she used a cheese grater, so she was very thrilled upon how to use it. I used about a half cup of grated Parmesan. Here I'm chopping my onions the lazy way, just in the food processor. And then I'm going to saute them till they're translucent in butter on a frying pan. Once they're brown, then you start to add in your cauliflower rice. I actually prefer fresh cauliflower rice opposed to the frozen. I mean, in a pinch I use the frozen, but when I'm using the fresh, I just like the taste of it. I don't know if it's just tastes more fresh, but you have to cook it longer and you have to steam it a little bit when you're using the fresh. Here's dessert. Just ignore the dessert. That's another video. So here I'm adding the cauliflower. And again, just chunking that up into the food processor and making the rice out of it. I would probably minimize your amount that you put in there, because if you over stuff your food processor, the cauliflower may get a little mushy. Adding more in. Like I said, this was the double recipe, so I have 2 heads. Adding my garlic powder. I used approximately, because two tablespoons. And then I have my own canned chicken stock, vegetable stock, so I add about a cup in there. This is just bacon bits that I added to mine. It's a little bit different from the recipe in the recipe book, but I like the flavor of just adding some bacon in. Then it is a half cup of shredded cheese, but again, I doubled this recipe, so I doubled it with another half cup. And back with the broth was about a half cup as well. And this is a half cup of heavy whipping cream. And then you add salt and pepper to taste, whatever your preference is. I like mine with a little more pepper in it, so I added quite a bit. Now I'm just stirring this to combine it, and I'm just going to let this sit and cook on the stove top a little bit. And then I'm going to spray my pan. I would say maybe 15 minutes that you would saute it. And then meanwhile, I have my oven heating up at 350. And then I'm going to add that in there in a 9x13 pan. And the recipe calls to let it sit for 25 minutes in the oven. I let it sit a little longer. Meanwhile, I was just making my toppings, where this is optional. I just use pork rinds to give it that crunchy flavor. And I added that shredded Parmesan to the pork rinds to add to the topping. Sorry, I'm doing this one-handed, so I'm not very coordinated at this moment, holding the phone plus doing a one-hand rolling pin. And then once I've done this and put that together, I'll just sprinkle it on top in the last 10-15 minutes of the baking, just so it gets a little crispy on top. This was the easiest way to roll out the pork rinds, is just put them in a plastic bag, so that way I didn't have that much mess. Here I'm going to put in the rest of the Parmesan in here and just kind of shake it together, and that may be my topping. I think overall for this recipe, the first day is good, but if you have leftovers, the leftovers were phenomenal. I don't know why, it just seemed to cook better than the second day, and I even had it on the third day, leftovers. It was easy to reheat. Here's the finished product. Thank you.